It's truly an honor and a privilege for me to stand up here today in my hometown of West Mansfield, and yes, I call West Mansfield my hometown. So, before I came up here, the American Legion handed me a little gift here for speaking. I just want everyone to know there's a Wounded Warriors program out there that I'll probably make this donation to. So, thank you to the American Legion for that as well. You know, the last time I was here at the Conservation Club, it was my grandparents, John and Lorena Elliott's 50th wedding anniversary. And Mary Lou, I know that you are good friends with my grandmother, and I thank you for that friendship. I also have been told that you coordinate this, you've been coordinating this for many years. So let's all give a round of applause for Mary Lou. As I was driving here this morning down Main Street, I couldn't help but remember the endless hours I spent riding my bike with friends in town. It brought back a lot of memories for me. Friends like Ryan Stanley, he's a state trooper, he's with us here today. The Allen twins that I'm pretty sure everybody knows here in town, Jason and Jeremy. Jeremy was going to be here today. He's a state trooper. I don't see him, though, in the audience. Duty calls on that one, probably. And then Jason is a chief in the Navy. He's from West Mansfield. And also Chris Oliver. He's a platoon sergeant in the Army. Both of those guys are active duty. So, it should make you proud to know that, like me, they all chose a life of service. And it reminds me that West Mansfield is still producing men and women that want to serve their country, and that should make all of us proud that they're doing that. Although I currently serve this great country in the United States Coast Guard, I will always have a Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor stamped on my heart. And for all the prior Marines or current Marines out there, I think you know what I'm talking about. When I was thinking about what to talk about today, the first thing that came to my mind was, what if I could give you a glimpse into the mindset of our combat men and women? And what I want to start out to say is that we have the greatest military on the face of the planet. I've been in the military now for a little over 13 years, and I've seen it firsthand. Our men and women are highly trained. They carry out combat missions on a daily basis in remote parts of the world, in the worst conditions, with precision. They are highly skilled. We saw this with the Navy's SEAL Team 6 squadron when they took out Osama bin Laden. They are very, very good at what they do. For me, when I arrived in Al Taqaddum, Iraq with my second deployment in August of 2005, I remember feeling a sense of pride in what I was about to do, but I also remember feeling a sense of being scared. And you wouldn't expect that out of a Marine, but it wasn't scared of dying, it was scared of letting my fellow Marines down. A shining example of this was a man by the name of Lieutenant Colonel Kaufman. He was my commanding officer on my second deployment to Iraq. And I'm going to tell you a little story here. About 2 months into our 7-month deployment, his aircraft received pretty significant enemy ground fire. And he received severe wounds to his face and jaw. He maintained his commitment to the crew on board and aided in their safe arrival back to the air station in Iraq. The thing about Lieutenant Colonel Kaufman is he's a servant leader, and his commitment to the crew and getting the helicopter back to the base, they had to physically remove him from the aircraft because he didn't want to leave his crew behind. And that meant a lot to me. He was sent back to the United States, and he underwent extensive facial surgery, and he had to have some reconstruction stuff done on his jaw. But after 3 months, he pleaded with the senior leadership in the Marine Corps so that he could come back and return to the squadron that was currently deployed. Reluctant at first, the senior leaders of the Marine Corps finally granted his wish, and they let him come back to Iraq. And I'll still remember seeing him, it's just like plain as day, him walking through the door, and he still had the wounds on his face. And he walked in, and we gave him a standing ovation when he came through the door. And to this day, that is the epitome of a servant leader to me, and I look up to him. You know, I often think about the family members that the uniformed member leaves behind. I think it's often more difficult for them than it actually is for the service member when they have to deploy overseas. They are patriots in their own right, quite strong, and I'm telling you what, they hold down the home front, and that is something to be said about. So just real quickly, I know we've already introduced Rachel, but I'd just like to say a special thanks to my wife, Rachel. I've drug her around the country here all over the place, and she still puts up with me, so thank you, Rachel. You are a wonderful wife and a wonderful mother, so thank you. My 3 boys, Asher, Eden, and Levi, I know they're going to grow up, and a couple of them are going to go in the military, and hopefully a couple of them will become Marines. So, and then also my mother and father, Max and Suzanne, they supported Rachel tremendously while I was deployed, so thank you as well. You know, I often think about my friends who didn't make it either. Anytime you spend a long period of time overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, you're going to lose friends. And the first ones I think about, I had a good friend, her name was Captain Jennifer Harris and her co-pilot Jason Landacker. They were shot down, killed in action over Fallujah February 7, 2007. I think about David Spicer. I know many of you may know who he is. He was a Benjamin Logan classmate of mine, a 1994 graduate of Benjamin Logan High School. He was a fellow Marine, and he was killed in action July 13th of 2009. I will never forget them, and I will ensure that my boys know the sacrifice that they made. I gotta get through this part. And we will never be able to repay them, and they're my personal heroes. You know, as a former Marine, I pride myself in its history. And Iwo Jima during World War II is a battle that I often think about and read about and study. It produced names such as Gunnery Sergeant Bazelon. I'm going to tell you a little something about Gunny Bazelon. Gunny Bazelon was a Medal of Honor recipient. And just as a side note, you hear people saying, hey, this person won the Medal of Honor or whatever. Just to clarify that, you don't win the Medal of Honor, you're awarded the Medal of Honor. Gunny Bazelon was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions in the Battle of Guadalcanal. In World War II. If you read his citation for being awarded the Medal of Honor, it talks about holding off 3,000 Japanese troops after his 15-member machine gun was reduced to himself and 2 other men. He was offered an honorable discharge from the Marine Corps, but chose instead to re-enlist and go back into combat in World War II. And if you study his bio, he was killed in action the first day that he stepped on the island of Iwo Jima. So the question that I pose to all of you today is, what made him choose to go back into combat? Because clearly he's a Medal of Honor winner. He didn't have to go back, but he chose to go back. I don't know the exact reasons why, but I know that it's that attitude and commitment that we're celebrating here today. That's why we're here. The men and women who put it all on the line to serve their country regardless of the risk.